Hey everyone, Omar here. Welcome back to the channel where I've got a new episode every Wednesday, including this week. I just finished editing my fourth client video today and I'm exhausted, but I do want to keep this consistent posting schedule. So no gear review this week, but kind of though. If you didn't see last week's episode, I reviewed all my Fujifilm gear and I normally shoot these on the 1024 or the 18mm, depending on what it is I'm doing. But this week, because I need a therapist, I ended up buying the Sigma 1018. And the XH2S actually has autofocus that's good enough to take advantage of this because it was kind of a problem on the XT3 that I tried it on prior. So technically, this video is also a test of the Sigma 1018 autofocus without the new firmware update that's supposed to be coming in a couple of weeks. So if you want to check that out, or if you had any questions about that, since every single video on the Sigma 1018 seems to be photo-based for some reason when it's clearly a vlogging lens, then go ahead and watch this entire video anyway. But today's video is a discussion on how to start a video business, how to start a production company, whatever you want to call it, as a solo entrepreneur. I'm not talking about hiring employees or anything, but I am talking about leaving your full-time job to do this for your full-time income. Very recently, I made the mistake of signing up to a new social media platform, and I'm on Threads now. And the thing is, the algorithm there feeds you the specifics of what it is that you do very well. And the number of really bad business takes or really beginner questions that someone who's doing this for money has, despite having, like, I check these people's profiles, they have much better work than I do. The number of those tweets or threads was surprisingly high. So I figured this would be a really good topic to cover today. And if you have any more questions, just let me know in the comments below and I'll answer them one at a time. Or if I get enough, I'll do a follow-up video. I'm going to give you 6 pieces of advice that I give to pretty much anyone who comes to me with this question in real life. And the first one is one that a lot of people don't like. It's one that I don't like myself because I'm pretty introverted in real life. That's why I feel very comfortable talking to a camera in my room with no one bothering me. But the number one thing that you have to do to start your own video business is actually work on your people skills. Once upon a time, people would be hired on merit. And for the most part, that is gone, especially when you're getting started. The relationships you have, and I'm not talking about going to your brother or your cousins or family friends or anything like that, although they could potentially be good clients. I'm talking about going to your manager or the business owner for the place that you work at, or the pizzeria that you've been a customer at for some time, or the repair shop you leave with a $600 bill from every other week. Those are all potential clients, and those are people that you have some type of established relationship with already. Now, of course, you have to work on the pitch process. You know, if you walk up to someone and say, hey, can I try making an ad for your place? They're going to laugh you out the door. So you do have to approach it with some strategy, and no one's going to know what that strategy is better than you are because you're the one who has that relationship. Example being, hey, are you guys running any kind of special ads over the holidays? Or, oh, are you doing that same sale you had last year? A lot of people didn't know about it. Are you planning any promotions? Things along those lines. Some of these people only want content to push their own ads. Some of them have never actually run ads before, and some have never seen the benefit of running ads because in the past they've made the mistake of paying for one big video. They've run it once and then that's it. Like 10 people saw it and it was just an expensive lesson for them on what not to do, but that's only because they can't think of any other way to actually position a video strategy. We'll get into all that stuff a little later, but the point is you have to dive into your own professional network of people who already have money. Now there's a little perpendicular to that, but also don't do free work for corporations. Corporations, their only goal is to make a profit, and cheap work will only lead to cheap work, and free work will lead to nothing. This is a scientific fact. Do not work for free. Save the free stuff for creative projects that personally interest you, that'll also help you develop as a videographer, editor, build out your skill set, and potentially expand your network as well. But an established corporation, do not do free work. If you want to do spec ads as a product videographer, that's a little different. I can go into product videography in another video if people want to talk about it and what it's like to work internally at a company versus externally and just have them as your clients, as that field of videography is actually pretty different from a lot of the other ones that we're accustomed to. But going back to it, if you don't have that network, if you don't have those personal relationships with people who can spend money, you are going to have to go out to different industry expos that are in your region. You are going to have to go potentially door to door to kind of solicit people, or just go to meetup.com and go to some mixer and introduce yourself to everyone else. You never know who you're going to meet at these things. Keep the fact that you're a videographer. I call myself a production artist because I do photo and video, and I feel like all these LinkedIn corporate ads have ruined the role of videographer, but I'll leave that up to you in your area. But what prompted me to start off with this was there were people on Threads who said, wow, I have all this great work. Someone look at my work and tell me why I'm not getting any customers. No one is going to come to you and say, oh, please, this is so cinematic. Please make videos for me. It doesn't happen. You might know of some outlier case, but more likely than not, that person that told you that that's how it happened probably lied. So work on your people skills. That's number one. If you're a business, you need customers, and customers are people, and that's just something you're going to have to work on for the rest of your life. Reason number two, and I know a lot of people aren't going to like this one either, because we are gear fiends. I am a gear fiend myself. You can watch last week's episode where I reviewed way too much Fujifilm equipment to see that. As a solo entrepreneur, as a person who does end-to-end video production, that being the service that you provide your clients, you need to learn how to edit. Most videographers, most cinematographers, everyone I know who tries to do this for a living, the one thing they can't do is edit properly. I'm not talking about going into Resolve and learning how to color grade and all that. You can go ahead and throw on a conversion LUT or even shoot in a color profile. I like shooting on color profiles every now and then myself. I have no reason to edit my talking head videos other than the fact that I just realized I forgot this in Log already and I've already got an ND filter on, so whatever. But you need to learn how to stack your B-roll, how to use auditory transitions, how to do simple things like J-cuts. And keep in mind, I didn't go to film school or anything, so I did make a lot of mistakes initially. Then eventually I found a YouTube tutorial that opened my eyes to a lot of this stuff, and I learned everything on YouTube. So if I could do it, you absolutely can do it too. Look into the one-on-ones, look into the basics of how to edit. There are career editors who are probably going to try to sell you a course, which in all honesty, fair, but they have a lot of really good information on their channels for free. Take advantage of that. You can do a lot by watching those videos, taking notes, and then going out, shooting, editing, basically practicing. Because just like lifting, you got to train those muscles. You got to train those muscles. You got to train your ears. You have to do more and more editing in order to build that neuroplasticity. So when you open up a project file, it's not overwhelming. You just drag stuff in. You already know how to do your basic cuts. You already know how to balance your audio, things along those lines, things that initially are a really big deal. And when you do it once, you're like, oh, it made my video so much better. But after a while, it's just your baseline. And sometimes you'll revisit an old project on your website and just go, oh God, let's take that one down. I definitely have more than a few of those. And speaking of website, that's actually number three. Get a website. This is especially important for corporate clients, and corporate clients are the ones who pay really good money. They don't want to go to your Instagram page. They don't want to join your Facebook group. Unless you're doing UCG content, they don't want to see your TikTok. And even then, you should have a one-pager as a website if you are a content creator. There are a few reasons to get a website. I have like a camera blog, which are essentially just summaries of my YouTube video there. I've gotten jobs just because people have gone to my website and they see that I can edit and tell a story in video, that I have pretty good audio throughout the entire video. And I've been hired for work based on that alone. They also get a feel for what your style is. All your stuff is there. And then occasionally, this will happen again, especially with corporate clients. You can make a custom landing page for one specific client that you're trying to lock in. And this is especially handy if you're trying to pitch them on a retainer package. Of course, you can also do a lot of other things on a website. You can sell print, you can sell merch, you can sell courses, but all of those have different audiences. Like this, for example, this really isn't for potential clients. This is really for my peers. I actually met my tightest group of creatives through YouTube. You know, we have our own Discord channel now. We go on weekly calls. It's great. So this is another way to actually expand your network, which I recommend. Quick side note, even for photographers, YouTube is still the best platform for the same reason that it's so good for videographers, in that your client, when they start stalking you, they get to know you. And trust me, they will stalk you. Everyone I work with nowadays knows that if you're a Zionist, I'm not interested in working with you. They also know I've got a ton of experience in sports. They also know that I'm a content creator myself. And that begins to build out a similar dynamic to what celebrities have with their followers, that parasocial relationship, except that these people will feel like they're already very familiar with your work. And if you have something on your website that's already in the space that they're looking to hire you for, then it just makes that parasocial relationship that much stronger. And if they do mention that, by the way, definitely work that angle. Get a website. I use Squarespace. I'm not famous, so I don't have like a code or anything, but I'm sure you could Google one. Okay, this next one is a very hard one for people to accept, and it's to lose the scarcity mindset. If a person comes to you and asks you where you shot a particular video or photo, or they come to you and they ask, hey, I saw this video you made. How did you do that edit exactly? And if you're one of those dismissive people that go, oh, I don't know, I don't remember, I don't really share my techniques, you're not going to get very far in this industry. The scarcity mindset in the creative space is such an interesting thing. And you could argue that for spec work, which is a lot of corporate stuff, Yeah, I guess if you teach someone else how to do something, technically they may become your competitor, but at the same time, that means you just failed to sell yourself to that client. That's also a very uncommon scenario and one that I've never actually heard of happening. And mind you, I was internal creator for 5 years hiring contractors, and I can promise you that never happened there. Losing the scarcity mindset and working with other videographers, or maybe not videographers, maybe graphic designers, photographers, other people who work in the media space, that is how you build out your professional network, how you potentially meet some new friends, but also it builds out a very strong referral system for you. So if you and I are cool and you have a client that you can't cover, or someone's asking for a referral in an area that I live and you don't, I'm an easy person to refer them to because you already know in the back of your head, this dude's pretty chill and he knows what he's talking about and he was really helpful. You being nice and easy to work with is typically all that matters when it comes to sending work your way. You being easy to work with in general is the easiest way to be rehired on the set or to keep being rehired by the same client for similar projects year after year. And in order to get to that state of being, you have to lose that scarcity mindset and be generous. It sounds like hippie talk, and I hate hippie talk, but it's the truth. You give two videographers the same exact camera setup, the same lenses, the same laptop, and you tell them both to shoot the same thing, you're going to get two very different videos. So that, among a lot of other things, makes the scarcity mindset, especially in the creative space, very weird. But on top of that, something a lot of people don't consider is that the more we actually grow this industry, the more demand there is for professional video work. Because if Joe Schmo sees that Mike's Auto Shop got a really cool video out, he's gonna want one too. That's how you increase the overall demand. Just help other people out, man. I can promise you right now, if I didn't have people putting out that help content on YouTube years back, I wouldn't be doing this stuff. I'd be still stuck in a corporate gig wanting to end my life. Next point is to keep up with the latest technology. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but I am going to talk about AI. AI has been something that's been around for like 7 or 8 years. AI has been part of my workflow for 7 or 8 years. It's probably been part of your workflow too. If you've ever used the healing audio tool in Audition, if you've ever used clone stamping, you've used AI in the past. And people, for some reason, are just so reluctant to even try out this new stuff. And it is definitely not a magic bullet. But learning how to utilize it to just speed up your workflow and still charge the same hours is going to make you a lot more money and will make you a better editor in the long run as well. If you make the mistake of relying on it, you are going to mess up. Setting good audio is still more important than having a really good AI audio tool. And I don't care what software you're using, they can only do so much. You still have to be the expert. You still have to be the professional that knows how to set audio properly and collect it good so that if there's construction going on in the background, stamping it out really isn't going to be that big of a deal. If your client trips over their words, if they mention a wrong stat in their video and you have to correct it later, you already know how to clone their voice and then fix that problem for them, which in turn, surprise, surprise, makes you even more of a professional in their eyes because, whoa, this guy knows how to do everything. Or gal. I actually know more female editors than male, which I don't know why that's the case, but you get the idea. And that's just one scenario. This is even more important if you're someone who decides they want to work internal creative at a company for their career, because companies, corporations, especially large ones, they don't really get creative with their work. And what a lot of people find out when they're laid off is that the entire industry passed them by if they didn't keep up with their skills in their own personal time. This happens to a lot of designers. This happened to a lot of other video people who worked alongside me for years. And it could very well happen to you one day. The last thing you want to deal with when you're laid off is meeting the new bar. The bar that you haven't had to touch for years for what an editor or cinematographer is. Very, very important point that could potentially go into its own video, but I had to mention it here just because of how many people are still so reluctant to even try out these tools. The last point I want to bring up is probably going to dictate whether or not this is the career for you, especially if you're going to do this independently. And that is understanding that having a good videography business has nothing to do with being a good videographer or editor or photographer or anything else. I know this sounds shocking, but how many people do you know do amazing work, but they're essentially living paycheck to paycheck, or they keep taking low-paying gigs? Business skills are their own set of skills, and they can be applied to a whole number of different industries and services and businesses. And a business like videography, production, photography, whatever you want to call it, I just put it all under the production umbrella. A production business is no different. You need to have a proper marketing strategy. You need to know who your clients are. You need to know what your rates are. You need to have a growth strategy. You need to be able to manage your time properly. And you do have to have a pretty good idea of what type of work it is that you want to do or specialize in or expand into. Some people spend their entire careers as a solo entrepreneur. Some people end up building out production companies. Some people do it for a few years and they scale it back into a side gig. Some people do it and then use it to differentiate themselves in a completely different position within companies. And it's a huge advantage because it's another form of communication and presentation, one that a lot of people really don't have, by the way. And here's where I sell you my course. Joking, just joking. You never see a business course from me, maybe like a shooting course or something. But ultimately, but on a more serious note, you have to sit down and think about, what does a sustainable business plan look like for me to continue doing this type of work? I'd actually recommend you sit down before you even start and say, what are the different options I have? Then you can feel it out when you're first dipping your toes into everything. Are you doing retainer models? Are you only doing production work? Do you want to just be a DP and work your way up there and just direct people on set? Are you doing commercials? Are you doing content, local only, travel only? Are you someone who focuses on aesthetics? Are you a problem solver, which is the angle that I take? You really do need to answer these questions, because picking up a camera and having someone pay you for a gig or two is not going to make your career. Really, really, really important point to take home. The business skills are completely independent of your video production skills, and you do have to build them alongside one another in order to succeed. And this is also something you want to figure out before you have to, for sure. There you have it. If you got any other questions, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, catch you later.